Hello and welcome to our SAP Tech Talks webinar. Just a bit of housekeeping before we jump in. This webinar is going to be recorded and it will be available on our YouTube channel. If you've got any questions as we're going through the talk, then please pop them in the chat and we'll pick them up at the end of this session. And now let's meet our today's speaker. We're joined today by Pavel Harelyshau, and the topic of his talk is progressive web applications with SAP UI5. Pasha, please take it away.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So today I'm going to tell you about progressive web applications with SAP UI5 example. So let's get started. Here are a few words about me. I'm a front-end engineer with main focus on SAP UI5 and SAP Fiori elements. Right now, I'm mainly working with sub-business technology platform. I will know such front-end technologies as JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and others as well. So let's get started. Here is our agenda. We will know what is progressive applications, which benefits it gives us. Next thing which we will learn is how we can convert our standard UI5 application or any other application as well into progressive one. We will know about service workers, about different strategies for service workers, which strategy we should use. After that, we will learn how we connect push notifications with integration with service worker and with our server. And after that, I will answer to your questions. Okay, let's move on. What is progressive web application? It's still web application. It means it's still our website. But this website uses modern technologies, modern APIs, such as service worker, and such as notification API, for example. That's not a full list, but just for example. And this application end user can install to the device using browser. So here are the main things about progressive web applications. And let's see about features. Let's see features and benefits of progressive web applications. First of all, it's offline working. It means that our application works without a network, and we can do it by using a service worker, by providing corresponding cache strategy for that. Next thing, it's installable. As I mentioned, our progressive web application user can install on device, and it will provide almost a native application experience because it looks really similar. And if we will use modern APIs, it can be really similar to native application. Next thing is that our application still stays SEO-friendly because it's still website, and we can easily find it using search in the browser. Next thing is that our application must be secure. It's a mandatory thing to build it using HTTPS to encrypt data. Next one is responsive. We as developers need to care about this thing because our application might be installed everywhere, to any device, to mobile, to desktop as well. Next one is linkable. It means that our application still stays website, and we can directly navigate to it using the link. So here was the benefits and features. Let's compare progressive web applications with native. Let's start from pros. First of all, it's cost-effective. It means that we need to develop our application only once, and it will be everywhere for any browser, for any operating system, for any device, laptop, desktops, and it's pretty cool. Second one is cross-platform compatibility. As I mentioned, only one source of code, and it will be everywhere. We still have some issues with different browsers that something might be different, but it's a really small piece of code which we need to care about. Next thing, it's SEO-friendly. It means that we still can find our application by using simple search in browser. And some native app should have separate website just to show that, this application there is in our app stores or somewhere else. Next thing is that we need lower storage requirements for progressive web applications. For example, for similar native application, we can have maybe in 10 times more storage requirements. For example, if our progressive web applications needs just 10 megabytes, then native one may need 100. It's not the rule, but usually we can see these cases. Next thing is that we can easily release new version. It means that we need to do only few things. It just push new code into our main branch to our main branch and just deploy it. And after that, all users will receive your new version and will able to use new version of the application. Let's go to cons, and first is limited access to native device features. Unfortunately, we still have it. And for example, it's not possible to use Bluetooth for progressive applications for iOS systems. It's not possible to use Face ID as far as I remember. And next thing is limited discoverability in app stores. In case if we are not publishing our application into App Store, we can lose some big auditory which still can find our application there. And it might be an issue. I can say that it's still possible to publish progressive web application in the App Store, and it will be there, but it's not so easy. For sure, it's simply just deploy application and by just link, install it to our device. Next thing is limited support of native UX features. It means that usually tools for native platforms, development tools, designed this way to provide the most effective, most pleasure native experience for end users. And in our progressive web applications, we need to implement some common flexible solution for everywhere. That's why we can lose some UX benefits here. Next one is a lower performance compared to native code. It might be not an issue if we will follow all best practice for quality code for progressive web application, but usually we can face with this issue as well if we are comparing it with native application. Okay, let's go on. Let's see how we can install our application to our device. On desktop, there is a button for installing. It's near the search input. On the mobile also is possible. Here I'm showing how to do it on iOS system. There is share button. After that, we will see this pop up. And here we can click at the home screen. And let me show how we can do that for our example on SAPUI5. Here we can see this button, we can install it, and our application will be opened as standalone. So here it is. Let's go back to the presentation. Here I provided some examples of big applications which already used progressive web app features. It's GitHub, TikTok. Maybe let's try to download something of them. For example, TikTok. Let's go to the Chrome and install it from there. Okay, we can see that I already installed it. It's not an issue. Instead of install button, we can see open in the app. I can open it. I can uninstall here as well. Sorry for some TikTok here. And here we will able to install it again. Here, install button. Sorry, I will close. We can click install button, and after that, our application will be installed. Cool. Let's go on and come back to the presentation. Let's see how we can convert UI5 application into progressive one. There are some criteria to make it installable, and let's see what is it. First of all, the app has not been installed yet. As I showed, if it's already installed, we will see open in app button instead of installing button. This is pretty clear. Next thing is that user have somehow interact with our website. not somehow, it should be at least one click to any place in our page. And next thing is that user should view our application at least 30 seconds. Might be more, but at least 30. And third point is our application is served over HTTPS, and we as developers must have to care about this thing. And the next point is that our application should contain web manifest file, which setups almost all properties for our progressive application. And let's see how we can set up it in this file. Here I'm providing some example with mandatory properties of the web manifest file. By the way, it's possible to name this file like manifest.webmanifest or manifest.json. But in case of UI5 applications, we already have manifest.json file, and I just decided to name it as .webmanifest to divide the logic about UI5 and progressive web applications. So here I'm providing name. It will be responsible for showing name in installed applications. Icons will show icon. I provided two icons here for different screen resolutions. Start URL is responsible for which page will be opened initially. In my case, it's just slash. It means that index.html will be opened. For example, if we have some big application with many pages, for example, one of them is about company, and we want to open it initially, we can just change this parameter and set up it here. Next thing is display. And I provided here standalone for iOS devices. For example, it's necessary to keep it here standalone. Then our application will be shown like here, like standalone. I will close the DevTools for now, and it's coming only because we provided it here. Okay, let's move on and let's see how we can add custom install button. For example, we don't want to click to this install button, and we want to implement something custom and provide custom installing experience for end user. So first thing which we need to do, we need to save install event somewhere. In my case, I'm saving it into window object. And to do that, I just provided event listener for before install prompt event in the index.html and saved it there. But one thing which I need to mention that it works only in Chromium-based browsers for now, but hope in future it will be everywhere. Next thing which we need to do is provide this button into our view and attach some handler here. And in our handler, we are checking is install event in our window object or not. If it's not, then we shouldn't do nothing. As I mentioned, it will not work, for example, in Safari browser. And if it's here, we are triggering prompt method for this event, which will open this pop-up window, which we can see on the screenshot. And in this event, we can see user choice property, which has promise. And this promise, after resolving, will have outcome which is accepted or denied. In case of user clicked install, it will be accepted. And if the user installed the application, we can see that I'm hiding this button because it's not suitable anymore. We can try it for our application. I will uninstall it again. Go to Chrome. Update just in case. And here, this button, or we can also not, maybe 1 second. Maybe it's already installed, I don't know. Okay, maybe something went wrong. I'm sorry for that. No issues. It was working. Maybe because I'm streaming, something can be unexpected. But basically, it should trigger this pop-up, and we will see it, and we can install and cancel, as we see on the screenshot. Okay, that was it about some introduction to progressive web applications. And now let's talk about service worker. What is service worker? I would say that service worker is heart of the PWA. It means that it's like a middleware between our application and the network. It will decide from there we will receive the data from cache or from the network. There are not many, but I will show to you 5 strategies for using service worker. And here's the main schema that our application go to service worker and service worker going to cache or to network and get data from cache or network and give it to application. And let's see how we can connect to our application. First of all, we need to register it. In my case, I'm doing it in index.html. I'm checking is service worker in Navigator because maybe in some old browsers it might not be there. That's why it's better to check it. And if it's there, then we can trigger register method and provide here the path to our service worker. It might be cv.js or service worker.js. And also I provided some console log just to see that our service worker was installed, activated, registered, and we can see these console logs in our console log. To see connected service worker, we can go to application tab in our DevTools. So here it is. We can see that we have some active service worker. It's here. We can go, we can see service worker code. We can put debuggers here and debug it as well. Okay, let's go back. And one more thing maybe before we go to next slide. We can see that install event for some reason was not defined. That's why we faced with this issue. Don't know, it's Chromium-based browser, should work. Okay, and to see console log from service worker, one thing we need to check this checkbox, preserve log, to see the console logs from the service worker. Okay, now we can move on. And let's talk about different cache strategies for service workers. I want to mention before we start that it's possible to use different cache strategies. We can use almost all cache strategies in one application and make it different depends on our files or our URLs. It depends on our requirements, basically. And here I'm showing that in install event, we already can pre-cache some important files. In case of UI5 applications, it might be component preload.js because almost full application is there. It can be for sure index.html in case of standalone. And if we are using some custom CSS, we also can provide it here. Also some images, JSON files, everything what we wish and which requirements we have. We can pre-cache initially in install event. Okay, let's see the cache strategies. First is cache first. The idea of this is that our application is going to service worker. Service worker will go to cache, but in case if this data is not cached yet, it will go to network and return data from the network. In case it will be already cached, we will receive data from the cache. We can use this strategy for some not important files, for some static files, for example, images, which we don't usually update. The main benefit of the strategy is that user will receive data almost immediately because it's coming from the cache. So this is the idea. Next strategy is similar to previous one, network first, but here our service worker will try to go to the network initially and get data from there. If it's not possible, it will go to cache and return data from the cache. When we are using this strategy, we already kind of implement offline working, because if we cache some requests and user lost the connection, he still will be able the data from the cache. For example, we have some magazine web application, and there we have some articles. And let's say user opened the article. After that, he's closed our application. After that, lost the connection and come back. And if we are using this strategy for articles, users still will be able to see the article, but it might be outdated a bit, but still user can read it. So pretty good. Next one is cache only. It's honestly not really popular strategy here. It's when our application going to service worker is coming to cache and return data from there. No option to get it from a network here, only from cache. We can use this strategy for some pre-cached files, for example, which we pre-cached in the install event, as I showed a few slides before. Next one is network only. This strategy really popular, and by default it works this way. Then if we are not having any service worker, it's working with this strategy, and it's really necessary to have the strategy somewhere. For example, we have some banking application for bank, and here we have some exchange rates. And for end user, it's really important to always get most up-to-date data. And in these cases, for sure, we will use this strategy because some outdated data from cache may confuse the user. Okay, and next and most interesting from my perspective strategy is stale while revalidate. The idea of this strategy is that our application still is going to service workers always, and we are going to cache and return data from there. But that's not it. We are also going to the network, get data from there, and put it to cache. It means that our cache always updates. And this is a really flexible and common strategy in cases where we need to return response as fast as possible. And we can use this strategy, for example, instead of cache first, because here we are updating the cache and it's more flexible. And the use cases, for example, of UI5 applications that we can use the strategy, for example, to for requests which are related to our UI5 library. We can use the strategy because files in the UI5 library not really often updates, and this is the suitable strategy for that. Okay, and let's overview all the strategies. First was cache first for some static files that are not critical to the end user. Second one was network first for some data like articles. Third one, cache only, not really popular for some pre-cached static files. We need to be sure that these files really pre-cached. Fourth was network only. For important requests, the user should always get most up-to-date data. And number 5 was stale while revalidate, flexible strategy, for example, for UI5 library or some other static files. It's also possible and nice to use. And let's see some implementations, example of the implementation of these strategies. So all these things are applicable for fetch event in our service worker. And here I'm using several following logic. I'm checking is the origin of the URL is the same. It means that it's my static files. Then I'm returning with cache first strategy. Here the implementation is pretty simple. It just returns data from the cache. And if there is no this data, I'm using network first as well if the data from other external URL. So here the implementation of the network first strategy. We are trying to get data from the network, and also I have this condition I will mention later a bit. And if it's possible, we are just returning it and also put into cache. And if it's not possible, we are going to cache and return data from there or showing some error in the console if it was not be possible as well. And this condition I provided for post request because usually in my application, post request used for creating new entries. And in case I will return data from the cache, it for sure will not create a new entry in the database. That's why it's not a good idea to put this request to cache. And here I would say I'm using kind of network-only strategy, especially for post requests. So here we can see 3 strategies in one application depends on several conditions. Okay, so now we learned about cache strategies for service workers, and let's move on. Let's talk about push notifications. Native applications for sure can send push notifications to our devices, and it's also possible for progressive web apps. And let's see how we can implement it. Here is the schema of the interaction, how we should implement it. First of all, here our client means our progressive web application, front-end part of that. We need to subscribe to corresponding event and get subscription of the push manager. After that, we need to send this subscription to server. On the server side, we need to save this. And after that, from our progressive web application, or maybe it might be some another progressive web application, user can trigger notification. And after that, server will know about this and will send to us notifications. For example, let's say we have some calendar application where user able to create new meetings. And before 15 minutes, user wants to get some push notifications here. So then we will trigger notification when we are creating new meeting and providing some exact time. Then our server already know when it should send notification to our application. And main benefit of all this maybe a bit complex interaction that it's still possible to receive push notifications also when our application is closed. So I will show you how exactly we can do that. First of all, as I mentioned, we need to get subscription and subscribe to corresponding event. Here is our service worker file, and I'm doing here subscribe method of the push manager, which will return to us promise. And here we see two mandatory properties. First of all is user visible only. It's necessary for Chromium-based browsers. And second one is application server key. It's rapid key, which we need to generate before. Here, for sure, we are using public key, and our server will store private one. Here we are using public, and on server will be private. Yeah, and here I'm subscribing to push event of the service worker, and here we will show the notifications to the end user. As I said, it will work also if our application is closed, because service worker always works also if application closed. That's why it's possible. Okay, let's see how we can send the subscription to server. Here I provided two examples. One of them is simple fetch for some other APIs, and second one is OData model create in case of we are using OData model version V2. Here we are sending subscription, which we received from previous slide. Okay, and now let's see how we can trigger a notification. But by the way, our server must have to save this subscription before triggering something. And after that, we will be able to receive the notifications. Before we trigger it, we have to ask user about permissions. For example, here I'm using notification request permission. And if user will deny it, we will see the similar pop-up like install or cancel, but here we will see allow or block. And if user clicked blocked, then we are showing just message box where we are asking to enable notifications. But if user clicked allow, we are triggering some fetch event or data model create with some payload of the notification. And after that, our server will trigger the notifications and we will receive it on our front-end app in our service worker. So before takeaways, let's see the not the implementation, let's see the example. As I'm presenting right now, it will not be possible to receive the notification because it will not be just showed, but you can try it on the deployed application and it should work. I'm not sure about some issues, but basically it's working. So here we have some properties which we can set up, and this is delay. It's not front-end delay, just like simple example, it's server delay. And after this delay, we will receive the notification. And for example, we can set here maybe 20 seconds, trigger the notification. As I said, it will not work, but in deploy it should, and close tab. And also in close tab, we will receive the notification in case of macOS system in the top right corner. Okay, let's go to our takeaways. So first of all, we learned what is PWA, which benefits it gives us, maybe how we can install application, how we convert the application into progressive one. We learned about service workers, about strategies. We know that it's heart of the PWA, like middleware between our application and network. The third point, we learned some different cache strategies, and we know which strategy we should use. For example, stale while revalidate, or common strategy for some static files and UI5 library might be really useful. We learned about push notifications. We know how we can connect it to our application to receive it. So here's the takeaways. And now let's go to questions, and I will try to answer.
Right. Pasha, massive thank you for your captivating presentation. And indeed, let's dive into our questions and keep this conversation going. So question number 1, is this code on GitHub?
Yes, it will be in the links, and it will be also QR code, which you can screen. I will quickly show. It's here. So here, GitHub project, you can see the examples. It will be similar, which I showed, and you can also just copy paste, and it already may work in your cases. So here, the link to GitHub.
Yeah, that's perfect. And while you are posting your questions, I'll just take a quick second to remind you that you can join our community on other social networks like Facebook and LinkedIn, and of course the We Are community platform. Use the link in the chat. And I guess we have one more question. Are there any specific security concerns when developing PWAs with SAP UI5, and how can they be mitigated?
Oh, interesting question. Thank you. So I would say honestly that there are maybe some specific concerns, but as I mentioned, our application must be served under HTTPS to encrypt the data. And next thing that we need to be careful with our service worker and different cache strategies to avoid some outdated data for users where it should be up to date. And also we have the same concerns, issues as we have in standard web applications, like CORS and other things. Yes, here we still have the same issues like in standard web applications.
Got it, right. And I guess we've got one more question. Looking forward, what are the anticipated developments or trends in PWA technology that could impact SAP UI5 developers?
From my perspective, I think the next big trend or thing for progressive web applications will be supporting full native features, or almost full native features such as Bluetooth, Face ID, Touch ID, something like that. And then I think from SAP perspective, in some cases where we early needed a desktop or mobile application, we can choose progressive web application. And one big benefit of that, it will be cross-platform compatibility. And next thing that it will be that we will have also web application version. It will be a website. So I think we will get more and more such cases after that. That's it.
Yeah. Sounds great. Sounds promising. And one more question, which is, why are PWAs not so popular among other SAP UI5 applications?
Honestly, I don't know exact answer. Maybe because it's the features which PWA provides to end user is not so needed for business. Might be so because almost every time it's some big business companies. But maybe it's not a big deal to convert our application into progressive fund, to add cache strategies, to provide offline working. It's good benefits. I don't know why we are not converting into progressive web application. Maybe future we will do it more often.
Right. And well, of course, we're hoping that this session will also result in converting some of you into PWA fans. And one more question. Can we have different strategies for different requests for one BE service?
For one which service, sorry?
For one BE service.
Maybe I'm not getting it, but basically we can full request object, and based on any parameter of this request object, we can set up different strategies. As I showed in our example, it might be a URL, it might be a type of request like post, merge, or something else. If we have the difference in the different requests, we can get it, we can understand where we need to use different strategies. I would say that it's possible if we can understand that it's really different kind of requests. Yeah.
Right, got it. And I guess one more question is coming in. Is it possible to use and deploy PWA into SAP S/4HANA on-premise or only within SAP BTP?
Honestly, I didn't try these things. Here, our example is standalone application, which works on GitHub pages. It's pretty simple. I didn't try it. I think on the BTP for sure it should work, because here we have index.html, and we can just provide service worker in the root folder, connected careful, and I think in BTP it should work, but other cases I didn't try, so I can't say this. I can't say. Yeah.
Right, got it. And I guess we've got one more question. In the scenario where an SAP UI5 application is consuming an OData data source, how would you architect the PWA for data fetching?
So but basically we can use by default, as I mentioned, it's working like network only strategy. But for example, if it's not crucial data, we can pre-cache something and use a network first strategy. And if user will lost the connection, we can return it from the cache in some cases if we really need it. It's like an example, but as I mentioned, also post request, which in our data usually creates new entries in the data model, we should avoid to cache it and use network only strategy here. So it's possible to use with data for sure, and it depends on the requirements, I would say.
Got it. Yeah. And do we have any other questions? I'm not sure. I think, well, it looks like we've covered all the questions for now. So, well, I'm guessing it's time to thank our speaker then. Pasha, once again, massive thank you for today's Tech Talk. I believe I speak for everyone when I say that you broke down the PWAs like a true rock star, and you gave us all the details that we need to turn our web applications into something really special. So a round of applause and a big thank you for sharing your smarts and your time.
Thank you as well for your time, guys.
Yeah.
Really, thank you. And thank you for question. It was interesting.
Absolutely, yeah. And also a quick reminder before we wrap things up, today's webinar recording will be available on our YouTube channel, and you'll get the link to the recording a little later via email. Colleagues, thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope to catch you in our next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.